The distress signal came through weak and broken. Transport ship Valiant Dawn, carrying 40 Marine reinforcements to the front lines, had been ambushed by Voral scouts. The ship was down on Kylos 9, a barren moon with no atmosphere and temperatures that dropped to minus 200 degrees at night. "Time to last transmission?" Vexla asked. 11 days, sir, the comm officer reported. 11 days. No atmosphere meant no oxygen. Even with emergency supplies, the humans would have died within hours. Vexla pulled up the tactical display. Kylos 9 was deep in contested space. A rescue mission would be dangerous and pointless. "Mark the location for recovery when the sector is secure," he ordered. "We will retrieve their remains when possible." "Sir, we're receiving another signal from Kylos 9, the comm officer said. It's the humans. They're alive." Vexla mandibles clicked in disbelief. "Confirm that transmission." The voice that came through was rough and tired, but unmistakably human. "This is Staff Sergeant Marcus Webb, UEDF Marines. We have 40 personnel alive on Kylos 9, requesting immediate extraction. We've got wounded and supplies are running low." "Sergeant, how are you alive?" "That moon has no atmosphere." "We're in the wreckage of the Valiant Dawn, sir. We sealed off sections of the ship and we're using the emergency oxygen generators. It's not great, but we're breathing." Vexla pulled up the moon's data. The Voral had patrols in the area. A rescue would require fighting through enemy forces. But these humans had survived 11 days in impossible conditions. They deserved the attempt. "Sergeant Webb, hold position. Rescue forces are inbound. Estimate 20 hours. "Copy that, sir." "We'll be here." The rescue fleet jumped into the Kylos 9 system 18 hours later. Vexla commanded from his flagship, ready for Voral resistance. They found none. The enemy scouts had moved to different patrol routes, but they found something else. The wreckage of the Valiant Dawn was surrounded by debris. Not random wreckage. Structured debris? The humans had built defensive positions from pieces of their destroyed ship. They had created walls, fighting positions, and what looked like a command post. "Sir, scanning shows 2 destroyed Voral scout ships near the surface," the tactical officer reported. "Recent destruction?" "Within the last week. The humans fought off Voral attacks?" "Apparently so, sir." The rescue shuttles landed near the wreckage. Vexla watched through the external cameras as the Marines emerged. They looked terrible. Thin from limited rations, faces pale from lack of sleep, moving slowly from 11 days in low gravity. Their uniforms were torn and patched with salvaged material, but they were alive. All 40 of them, Staff Sergeant Webb saluted as Vexla approached. "Sir, 1st Platoon, Delta Company reporting." "Sorry about the ship." "Sergeant, report." "How did you survive 11 days on a dead moon?" Webb gestured to the wreckage. "We sealed off sections using emergency foam and salvaged panels. Set up oxygen generators in each section. Rationed food and water. Posted guards and shifts." He pointed to the defensive positions. "Voral scouts found us on day 4. We fought them off. They came back on day 7. We fought them off again. With what weapons? Your transport was destroyed. We salvaged what we could from the wreckage. Got about 30 rifles working, some sidearms, and one of the crew-served weapons. We also made improvised explosives from the ship's fuel cells. Set up mines around the perimeter." Vexla walked through their camp. It was organized despite the terrible conditions. The humans had created a water reclamation system from ship components. They had established a medical area where wounded were being treated. They had even set up a schedule board showing guard rotations and duty assignments. "Sergeant, you had wounded personnel. Why did you not leave them?" Webb looked confused. "Leave them where, sir?" "This is a dead moon. There's nowhere to leave them. You could have improved your own survival odds by rationing supplies among fewer personnel." The sergeant's expression changed. His voice went cold. "Sir, with respect, Marines don't leave people behind, ever. We bring our wounded home or we die trying." Another Marine approached. Private First Class Johnson, according to his uniform. He was limping badly, his right leg in a crude splint made from ship materials. "Sir, Private Johnson was injured when the ship crashed," Webb said. "Broken leg, internal injuries. We've been carrying him for 11 days while under attack." "Yes, sir." Exlo looked at Johnson. "Private, you were unable to fight or contribute. Did you ask your unit to leave you?" Johnson looked offended. "No, sir. And they wouldn't have anyway." "Why not?" "Because we're Marines, sir. We're a team. When one of us falls, the others pick him up. That's how it works." Exlo returned to his ship and pulled up human military history files. He read for hours, searching for patterns. He found them, stories of soldiers who escaped prisoner camps and walked hundreds of miles through enemy territory to return home. Special forces teams that spent months behind enemy lines, cut off from support, surviving on determination alone. Naval crews who survived weeks in lifeboats after their ships sank. Pilots who evaded capture and made it back across entire countries. And always the same principle. We don't leave people behind. There was a famous human saying from an ancient war, "Leave no man behind." It was not just a motto. It was fundamental to how humans fought. They would risk everything to recover their wounded. They would die rather than abandon their own. It was tactically inefficient. It risked additional casualties for personnel who could not contribute to mission success. By every logical calculation, it was the wrong choice, but it worked because humans who knew their comrades would never abandon them fought harder. They took risks they might otherwise avoid. They pushed beyond normal limits because they trusted their unit completely. Colonel Chun visited his quarters that evening. "I heard about the rescue, Commander. Thank you for bringing them home." "They survived on their own," Dexla said. "We simply provided transportation. Still, it means a lot to us." She paused. "I read your after-action report on the Xeris Prime battle. You mentioned not understanding why humans keep fighting past the point of logic. I am beginning to understand now. Are you?" Chun sat down across from him. "Tell me what you think you've learned." Exla considered his words carefully. "Your species fights for each other. Not for abstract concepts or tactical objectives. When a human soldier fights, they fight for the person beside them, for their unit, their squad, their fellow Marines. Go on." "This creates a psychological reinforcement. Each soldier knows that if they fall, their comrades will risk everything to save them. This knowledge reduces fear and increases willingness to engage in dangerous actions. It also creates intense loyalty and unit cohesion." Chun smiled. "You're thinking like a sociologist, Commander." "You're not wrong, but you're missing something important." "What am I missing?" "It's not just psychology. It's not just tactics. It's morality. We don't leave people behind because it's effective. We don't do it because it makes us fight better. We do it because it's the right thing to do. Because those are our people, and you don't abandon family." She stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. Every human culture on Earth, from ancient tribes to modern nations, has stories about heroes who saved their comrades, who carried the wounded from the battlefield, who went back into danger to rescue others. It's one of the few values that transcends all our differences. The guy next to you is your responsibility. You protect him, and he protects you. That's the deal, even when it is tactically unsound. Especially when it's tactically unsound. That's when it matters most." She turned to face him. "You want to know why humans can keep fighting when logic says we should stop? Because we're not fighting for logic. We're fighting for each other. And that's a much stronger motivation." Dexlo was silent for a long moment. "I witnessed a similar event recently. At Xeris Prime, one of your Marines carried a wounded comrade 300 meters under fire. Did they both survive? Yes, then it was worth it. But the carrier could have died. The tactical value of saving one wounded soldier did not justify the risk." Chun's expression hardened. "Commander, you're still thinking about this wrong. The value isn't tactical. It's human. That Marine who carried his wounded friend? Every other Marine in that unit saw it happen. They know, beyond any doubt, that if they fall, someone will come for them. That knowledge is worth more than any weapon or tactical advantage. It makes us unbreakable. She moved toward the door, then paused. There's a human saying, "Greater love has no one than this," that someone lay down his life for his friends. That's not tactical doctrine. That's who we are. And it's why you'll never break us, no matter what you throw at us. After she left, Vexla sat in the darkness, thinking. The Coalition had been fighting a war of calculations. Efficiency ratings, optimal performance metrics, acceptable loss percentages. The humans were fighting a different war entirely. A war where the measure of success was not efficiency, but loyalty. Not optimal performance, but absolute determination. Not acceptable losses, but bringing everyone home. It should not work. By every tactical analysis, it was inefficient and illogical, but the humans kept winning. Vexla pulled up the mission reports from the last 3 months. Human forces had been involved in 27 major engagements. They had won 19 of them. The strategic display showed 17 Voral fleets converging on a single point. Crevithia Prime, Vexla S. Homeworld. 16 billion civilians. The capital of the Coalition's oldest member species. It's a trap, Admiral Kreshvalum said, her scales turned deep gray with stress. They want us to commit forces to defend it. Then they'll hit us when we're concentrated in one location. We cannot abandon Crevithia Prime, Vexla said. His voice was steady, but his mind was racing. His clutch mother lived there. His genetic siblings. Millions of his people. The calculations are clear, Commander. We can hold for 40 hours maximum. After that, we will lose both the planet and the fleet. It is better to evacuate and preserve our forces. 16 billion civilians cannot be evacuated in 40 hours. The room was silent. Everyone knew the math. It would take at least 72 hours to evacuate the population, probably more. The Coalition did not have 72 hours. They barely had 40. General Sarah Chun, recently promoted after her success at Desha 4, studied the display. I have a proposal. The humans cannot save Crevithia Prime, Admiral Kreshvalum said. This is not a raid or a skirmish. This is a full-scale planetary invasion. I know. But we can buy time for the evacuation. Chun pulled up force deployment data. Earth can deploy a full division. 12,000 Marines. We establish a mobile defense around the civilian evacuation zones. We don't try to win. We just buy time. 12,000 troops against 17 Voral fleets. The Admiral's scales shifted to a shocked white. That is suicide. Yes, ma'am. It is. Vexla looked at Chun. Her face was calm, but he could see the weight of what she was proposing. General, you're asking your soldiers to die for my people. I'm asking them to do what Marines do, Commander. Hold the line. Buy time. Save lives. She met his eyes. Will it be enough time to evacuate Crevithia Prime? Vexla ran the calculations. If human forces could hold for 72 hours, they could evacuate 95% of the population. If they held for 48 hours, maybe 70%. Even 24 hours would save billions, but holding even 24 hours against that force was impossible. General, I cannot ask you to sacrifice your troops for my world. You're not asking, Commander. I'm volunteering. That's the deal. You'd do the same for Earth if the situation was reversed. He would. Vexla realized it was true. Months ago, he would have retreated according to doctrine. Now, after fighting alongside humans, after watching them refuse to abandon anyone, he would risk his forces to save human civilians. The humans had changed him. Changed the entire coalition. Admiral, I am joining the ground forces, Vexla said. I will not watch from orbit while others die for my world. Commander, that is against protocol. I am aware. I'm going anyway. Chun smiled, a predator's expression that showed her teeth. Welcome to the suicide mission, Commander. Let's go save your planet. The human transports dropped through Cravathea Prime's atmosphere like meteors. 12,000 Marines deploying to a world of 16 billion civilians. Vexla rode in the lead transport with Chun and her command staff. "What is your plan, General?" he asked. "Mobile defense. We don't hold fixed positions. We keep moving, hit the Voral from unexpected angles, disrupt their formations. Make them chase us. Every minute they spend hunting us is a minute they're not killing civilians. That will not work for 72 hours. "No," Chun agreed. "It won't, but we'll make it work as long as possible. Maybe we get lucky. Maybe coalition reinforcements arrive early. Maybe the Voral make mistakes." She checked her rifle. "Or maybe we just fight until we can't fight anymore and hope it's enough." The Voral landed 6 hours after the Marines deployed. They came in massive drop ships, thousands of warriors pouring onto the surface. The humans scattered into small units. Exactly as Chun planned, Vexla fought alongside a human platoon led by Lieutenant Jackson. The first engagement came at hour 8. Voral forces advancing on an evacuation center. The humans hit them from the side with missiles and automatic fire. "Displace, displace," Jackson shouted. The platoon was running before the Voral could respond, falling back to a new position 3 kilometers away. "Why did we retreat?" Vexla asked. "We had superior firepower." "Because in 30 seconds they'll hit that position with everything they've got," Jackson said. "We don't win by standing still. We win by making them waste ammunition on empty ground." Hour 12. Hour 18. Hour 24. The humans kept moving, kept fighting, kept buying time. Vexla watched evacuation numbers climb. 3 billion evacuated. 5 billion. 7 billion. The Voral adapted. They began predicting human movements, setting ambush. Casualties mounted. Chin's reports came through every hour, each one shorter than the last. Unit strength dropping. Ammunition running low. Wounded being carried by their squads because there was nowhere to evacuate them. Hour 36. Vexla's platoon ran into a Voral ambush. Lieutenant Jackson was hit in the first seconds, plasma burning through his armor. He went down hard. "Jackson!" Corporal Martinez grabbed the lieutenant and started dragging him toward cover. Plasma bolts burned the air around them. "Leave me," Jackson gasped. "Get to the rally point." "Shut up, sir." Martinez kept dragging. Vexla found himself laying down covering fire, his rifle chattering as he targeted Voral warriors. Another Marine, Private Williams, ran forward to help Martinez. A plasma bolt hit Williams in the leg. He stumbled but did not fall. Together, the two humans pulled their lieutenant to safety. They could have retreated faster without him. They would have had better odds of survival. They did not even consider it. Hour 48. General Chien's voice came through on the command channel, tired but steady. "All units, evacuation status is at 11 billion. We've saved 11 billion civilians. That's not bad for a day's work." "General, what is your unit strength?" Admiral Creshvalum asked from orbit. There was a pause. "We're at about 6,000 effectives. Maybe less." "Hard to get accurate counts when everyone's moving?" 6,000 out of 12,000. "Half the force gone in 2 days?" "General, you have exceeded all expectations. Coalition reinforcements are 20 hours out. You can evacuate now?" "Negative, Admiral. We've still got 5 billion civilians on the ground. We're not leaving until they're out." "General Chun, you cannot hold for another 20 hours. Your forces are exhausted and undersupplied." "Then we'll hold for 19 hours and 59 minutes. Chun's voice carried absolute conviction. "We came here to buy time. The job's not done." Hour 56. Vexla's unit was down to 18 Marines from an original 35. They had been fighting for more than 2 days straight. The humans moved slowly now, exhaustion clear in every step. But they moved. "Commander, why do we keep going?" Private Williams asked. His leg wound was poorly bandaged, seeping blood through the dressing. "We've saved billions. Mission accomplished, right?" Because there are still civilians who need time, Vexla said, understanding now. Because we do not abandon people who need us. William smiled through his pain. You're learning, sir. Hour 60. General Chin's command post was hit by Voral artillery. Vexla heard the report over the command channel. Chun was down, critically wounded. Her staff was requesting immediate evacuation. Negative, Chun's voice came through, weak but clear. Leave me. Get the civilians out? Ma'am, you need medical attention, her aide said. I need you to follow orders. I'm done, but this mission isn't. Keep fighting. Buy them time? Vexla felt something break inside him. This human general, who had volunteered to die for his world, was actually going to do it? By choice, because she believed it mattered. All units, this is Commander Vexla. General Chun is correct. We continue the mission. We fight until every civilian is evacuated or we are all dead. Those are the only two acceptable outcomes. His own voice surprised him. A month ago, he would have calculated acceptable losses and called for retreat. Now he was channeling human stubbornness, and it felt right. Hour 68. 4 billion evacuated. 2 billion to go. Human units down to 3,000 effectives. Ammunition was nearly gone. Some Marines were fighting with captured Voral weapons. Others were using knives and improvised explosives. The Voral were winning, but slowly. Too slowly. Because these humans refused to make it easy, R-72. The last evacuation ship launched from Kravathia Prime, 16 billion civilians saved. Every single one. All units, evacuation complete, Admiral Kreshvalum announced. All surviving personnel, fall back to extraction points. Coalition reinforcements are entering the system. Vexla stood in a ruined building with 12 Marines, all that remained of his platoon. They looked at each other, then started laughing. Tired, slightly crazy laughing. We did it, Corporal Martinez said. We actually did it. Your people are safe, Commander, Private Williams said. Worth it. Coalition reinforcements hit the Voral fleets in orbit, driving them back. Rescue shuttles landed across the planet, pulling out surviving Marines. 4,000 humans had survived the 72-hour battle. 8,000 had died. General Chun was not among the survivors. She died at hour 63, refusing evacuation until the civilians were safe. 200 Marines died defending her command post in the final hours. Buying time for one last evacuation ship to launch, Vexla stood at the memorial service 2 weeks later. The Jathic response to Earth's diplomatic protests arrived 3 days after. President Vasquez authorized Protocol Sundown. Admiral Velkoff appeared on every major galactic news network. His forearms spread wide in a gesture that his species used to show dominance. The humans cry like hatchlings, Velkoff announced, his translator giving his words a sharp, mocking edge. They build their nests in our territory and whimper when we clean them out. Let this be a lesson to all soft species. The galaxy belongs to the strong. Behind him, 12 human prisoners knelt in chains. They were the survivors that the Jathic had kept alive for this exact purpose. One by one, Velkoff executed them while the cameras broadcast to 1 trillion viewers across 100 worlds. The last prisoner was a young woman named Rebecca Torres. She was 24 years old, a botanist who had been growing food for the colony. Before Velkoff killed her, she looked directly into the camera and said 7 words that would echo across human space. Don't mourn us. Make them pay? Then she died, and Velkoff laughed. Admiral Marcus Webb watched the broadcast from the command center of Earth's primary military station. Alexandria, hidden in the asteroid belt beyond Mars, around him, 300 officers worked at holographic displays, coordinating the largest military mobilization in human history. How long until the fleet is ready? Webb asked. Commander Patricia Stone, his second in command, pulled up a tactical display. The Ghost Fleet will be in position in 14 hours. The main battle groups are 3 days behind them. Total force commitment, 573 warships, not counting support vessels. And the Jathic? Their intelligence estimates us at 200 ships maximum. They have no idea we've been building in secret for 5 decades. Stone's expression was grim. Sir, once we commit to this, there's no going back. The galaxy will know what we're capable of. Good, Webb said coldly. Let them know. Let them all know. Dr. Kenji Yamamoto entered the command center carrying a secure datapad. His face was drawn, exhausted from 72 hours without sleep. Admiral, all weapon systems are online. The factories in the Kuiper Belt have finished production. Everything we built, everything we hid, everything we hoped we'd never need to use, it's ready. Webb nodded slowly. Show me. Yamamoto activated a holographic display that filled the center of the room. It showed the human-controlled regions of space, dozens of star systems connected by trade routes and communication lines. But scattered throughout were red markers, hundreds of them, each one representing a secret military installation. For 50 years, Yamamoto began, humanity has been preparing for the worst. We studied dead civilizations, extinct species, ruins of empires that fell because they weren't ready. We learned from their mistakes. While we showed the galaxy a peaceful face, we built weapons in the darkness between stars. The display zoomed in on various installations. Massive shipyards hidden in the rings of gas giants. Manufacturing facilities buried in asteroids. Research stations in deep space where scientists had worked on weapons technology far beyond anything Earth had publicly revealed. The Ghost Fleet, Yamamoto continued, highlighting a cluster of red markers, consists of 500 stealth warships. They use quantum field manipulation to remain invisible to standard sensors. Each ship carries weapon systems that are decades ahead of what the Jathic have. Relativistic kinetic missiles, quantum disruptors, AI-guided hunter-killer drones that can operate independently for months. Another officer, Lieutenant Commander James Rodriguez, pulled up combat projections. Our simulations show a 97% success rate in fleet engagements, even against numerically superior forces. The Jathic have quantity. We have quality and surprise? What about civilian casualties? Webb asked. Minimal, sir. Our targeting protocols are extremely precise. We can eliminate military targets while leaving civilian infrastructure intact. Unlike the Jathic, we're not monsters. Webb appreciated that distinction more than he could express. Protocol Sundown called for overwhelming force, but it didn't call for cruelty. Humanity would show the galaxy its strength, but it would also show its restraint. The Jathic military would be destroyed. Their civilians would be spared. The difference mattered. President Vasquez appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from her office in Geneva. Admiral Webb, the United Earth government has voted. The authorization is unanimous. You have full operational authority to execute Protocol Sundown. Rules of engagement are simple. Destroy their military, spare their civilians, and make absolutely certain the galaxy understands that attacking humanity carries consequences they can't survive. Understood, Madame President. Vasquez paused, choosing her words carefully. Marcus, I know what this will cost you. I know what it will cost all of us. But those people on New Providence, those children, they deserve justice. And every human colony out there deserves to know that Earth will protect them. Make it count, yes, ma'am. The transmission ended, and Webb turned to his command staff. All ships are authorized to engage. Execute Protocol Sundown. The Jathic wanted war. Let's give them more war than they can handle. Across human space, fleets that had been hidden for decades came to life. Warships emerged from asteroid bases and deep space stations. Crews that had trained in secret reported to battle stations. Weapon systems that existed only in classified files powered up for the first time. The Ghost Fleet was the first to move. 500 ships, each one wrapped in quantum stealth fields that made them invisible to sensors, jumped into Jathic space through carefully mapped routes that avoided detection. They had been planning these infiltration corridors for years, using deep space probes and automated scouts to map every sensor array and patrol route, Captain Jennifer Torres commanded the lead ship, the EDF Retribution. She was 39 years old, a career officer who had spent 15 years in the Ghost Fleet, training for a war she hoped would never come. Rebecca Torres had been her younger sister. "All ships report ready," her tactical officer announced. Jennifer looked at the star chart showing space. 17 star systems, hundreds of military installations, thousands of warships. The Galactic Concordat thought themselves invincible. They had conquered 6 other species in their history. They saw humans as weak prey, easy targets. They were about to learn differently. "Begin infiltration," Jennifer ordered. "Weapons free on all military targets. Remember your training? Clean, precise, professional. We're not here for revenge. We're here for justice." The Retribution and its sister ships vanished into the darkness between stars, moving toward Galactic space with silent purpose. Behind them, the main human battle fleet assembled, preparing for a war that would reshape galactic politics forever. On Earth, President Vasquez addressed the planet in a speech that would be remembered for centuries. "Citizens of Earth, humans across the stars, today we face a choice." The Galactic attacked New Providence. They killed our people. They mocked our pain. They thought we would accept this horror and do nothing. They were wrong. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "We tried diplomacy. We tried reason. We tried peace." The Galactic answered with laughter and more murder. "So now we answer differently. We answer with strength. We answer with resolve. We answer with a simple message that will echo across the galaxy. Humanity is not prey. We will not be victims. We will not allow the murder of our people to go unanswered." The Galactic wanted to teach us fear. Instead, we will teach them consequence. We will teach the galaxy that humans can be peaceful, generous, and kind. But when you attack us, when you kill our children, when you mock our dead, we become something else entirely. We become the storm. We become justice. We become the end. She looked directly into the camera, and her voice dropped to something cold and absolute. "To the Galactic Concordat, you chose this. You started this war. We will finish it. To every other civilization watching, take note. This is what happens when you mistake human kindness for human weakness. We seek peace. But if you bring us war, we will bring you annihilation." The speech ended, and across Earth, across every human colony, people watched as their fleets deployed. The age of humanity, accepting whatever treatment the galaxy decided to give them, was over. The age of consequence had begun. In Galactic space, Admiral Velkoth received reports of unusual sensor readings near the border systems. His analysts dismissed them as stellar phenomena. By the time they realized the truth, the Ghost Fleet was already among them, and the war had already begun. 6 weeks after the first shots were fired, the Galactic Concordat existed only in name. Their military was shattered, reduced to scattered remnants hiding in deep space. Their empire, which had stood for 4 centuries, was collapsing into chaos as subject species sensed weakness and began to rebel. Admiral Velkoth, now styling himself supreme leader after a desperate coup that overthrew the previous government, broadcast a message from Thavrax. His forearms trembled as he spoke, his compound eyes showing something that looked very much like fear. "To Earth, to humanity, to President Vasquez and Admiral Webb, we surrender, unconditionally. We were wrong to attack New Providence. We were wrong about everything. Please, I beg you, accept our surrender. We will pay any reparations. We will submit to any terms. Just stop. Please stop." The message was broadcast on every channel, shown to every species in the galaxy. The mighty Galactic conquerors of 6 civilizations were begging for mercy. The Galactic Council, which had refused to intervene when humans died, now suddenly found its voice. Emergency sessions were called. Representatives from dozens of species demanded that Earth accept the Galactic surrender and end hostilities immediately. Ambassador Marcus Chun, Earth's representative to the Council, listened to 3 hours of speeches about mercy, proportionality, and the importance of peace. When his turn came to speak, he stood slowly and looked at the assembled representatives. "Where were you?" he asked quietly. "When the Jathik were broadcasting the deaths of our children? Where were you when Velkoth executed prisoners on live galactic television? Where were you when we begged for justice and were told this was a bilateral dispute?" The chamber was silent. "You were silent," Chun continued, his voice hardening. "You were afraid. You decided that human lives didn't matter enough to risk Jathik anger. So now you'll sit there and be silent while humanity shows you what happens when you abandon justice for convenience." He transmitted a data file that appeared on every representative's console. These are intercepted Jathik military communications from before the attack on New Providence. They show that Velkoth was planning to attack more human colonies. New Providence was meant to be the first of 12 strikes. They wanted to call humanity's expansion through terror. Shocked murmurs ran through the chamber. "So no," Chun said, "we will not accept their surrender. Not yet. Justice is not negotiable. They chose to make this existential. Now they'll learn what that means." On Earth, President Vasquez met with her cabinet in an emergency session. Half of her advisors argued that accepting the Jathik surrender was the moral choice. The other half argued that completing Protocol Sundown was necessary for humanity's long-term survival. "Madam President," the Secretary of Peace argued, "we've proven our point. The galaxy knows we're not weak. We can afford mercy now, can we?" Vasquez asked. "Or will mercy now be seen as weakness tomorrow? How many other species are watching this, wondering if they can attack us and survive if they just surrender fast enough?" Dr. Yamamoto placed a data pad on the table. "I have something you all need to see. Our intelligence teams have been analyzing Jathik military doctrine and history. They've fought 6 wars of conquest. Every single time, when they encountered serious resistance, they sued for peace, rebuilt, and attacked again 20 years later. Surrender is a tactic for them, not a genuine change in behavior." He pulled up historical records showing the pattern clearly. The Jathik had destroyed 3 civilizations completely, not through single wars but through cycles of attack, surrender, rebuild, and attack again. "If we stop now," Yamamoto continued, "in 20 years they'll be strong enough to try again. Maybe not against us directly, but against someone else. And we'll have taught the galaxy that humans can be manipulated through appeals to mercy." Admiral Webb joined the meeting via secure connection from the Alexandria station. "Madam President, I need to show you something. Dr. Yamamoto, bring up Project Excalibur." The holographic display filled the room, showing the outer reaches of the Sol system and beyond. Scattered through deep space, hidden in the darkness between stars, were dozens of massive structures. "These are railgun platforms," Webb explained. "We've been building them for 30 years, positioning them in deep space where no one would ever think to look. Each platform is 3 kilometers long and uses a series of magnetic accelerators to launch projectiles." He zoomed in on one platform, showing its technical specifications. "For the past 6 weeks, while the war has been fought, these platforms have been accelerating projectiles toward one target, Thavrax, the Jathik Homeworld." Vasquez felt her blood run cold. "What kind of projectiles?" "Tungsten rods," Yamamoto replied. "Each one weighs 500 tons. We've launched 100 of them. They're currently traveling at 95% the speed of light. At that velocity, the kinetic energy of impact is substantial." "Define substantial," Vasquez said, though she already knew she wouldn't like the answer. "Each projectile will hit with the force of approximately 500 nuclear weapons. 100 projectiles means the total kinetic energy will be equivalent to 50,000 nuclear warheads detonating simultaneously." The room was absolutely silent when they hit. Yamamoto continued quietly. "They will punch through the planet's crust into the mantle. The kinetic energy will cause massive seismic events, trigger volcanic eruptions on a global scale, and potentially ignite the atmosphere. Thavrax will become uninhabitable within minutes. Based on current population estimates, if we don't warn them and allow evacuations, 14 billion Jathic will die. Dear God, someone whispered. The projectiles are already in flight, Webb said. They've been traveling for 6 weeks. They'll arrive in 72 hours. We can't stop them. But we can warn the Jathic and give them time to evacuate. Vasquez stood and walked to the window. Outside, protesters still gathered, though their signs now showed different messages. Some demanded complete victory. Others begged for mercy. The world was divided. If we do this, she said slowly, we cross a line. We destroy a planet. Billions of Jathic will lose their homeworld even if we evacuate them first. The galaxy will remember this forever. Yes, Webb agreed. But they'll also remember why it happened. They'll remember that the Jathic attacked our innocents first. They'll remember that we warned them, gave them time to evacuate. They'll remember that we could have done this without warning but chose not to. The galaxy will learn that humans can be merciful even while being ruthless. Dr. Yamamoto added, and they'll learn that attacking humanity carries consequences that don't end when you surrender. Actions have results. Velkoth wanted to kill 12 colonies. We're taking one planet. It's horrible, but it's measured. President Vasquez thought about Commander Sarah Chun recording her last message while dying. She thought about the children at the educational center. She thought about Rebecca Torres. Brave and defiant until the end. She thought about every human colony out there, wondering if they were safe. Wondering if Earth would protect them. Wondering if human lives mattered as much as alien lives in the grand scheme of the galaxy. Send the warning, she ordered. Publish the trajectory data on every channel. Give them 72 hours to evacuate as many people as they can. Then she paused, feeling the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. Then let the sword fall. The warning went out minutes later. Earth published exact coordinates, trajectory data, and impact predictions. Every species in the galaxy saw the information simultaneously. The Galactic Council erupted into chaos as representatives realized what humanity had done on Thuvrax. Panic spread like wildfire. 14 billion Jathic suddenly realized they had 72 hours to evacuate their entire civilization or die. Every transport ship, every cargo hauler, every vessel that could fly was pressed into service. Colony worlds opened their ports to receive refugees. Admiral Velkoth appeared one final time, his earlier fear replaced by desperate pleading. President Vasquez, Admiral Webb, we surrender. We admit everything. We were wrong. Please call off the attack. There are children here. Civilians who did nothing wrong. Admiral Webb's response was broadcast just as widely. His face was hard, carved from stone, showing no emotion at all. There were children at New Providence, too. Civilians who did nothing wrong. You killed them while laughing. You broadcasted their deaths. You executed prisoners. You mocked our grief. He leaned forward, and his voice dropped to something cold and absolute. You did this. You chose this path. We are merely the consequence of your choices. You have 72 hours to evacuate as many people as you can. We suggest you use that time wisely instead of begging for mercy you didn't show us. The transmission ended, and the galaxy watched as the countdown began. The 72 hours passed in a blur of desperate evacuation. Every transport ship in Jathic space converged on Thuvrax, loading refugees as fast as physically possible. Human forces maintained their positions but didn't interfere with the evacuation. Some human captains even provided navigation assistance to Jathic transport ships, helping them reach safety faster. Captain Jennifer Torres watched from the Retribution as thousands of ships fled from Thuvrax, carrying civilians to colony worlds and allied planets. Her tactical officer looked at her questioningly. Captain, we could intercept those transports. We could, Torres interrupted, but we won't. This isn't about cruelty. It's about consequence. Let them run. Let them save who they can save. When they look back and see their homeworld dying, they'll understand exactly why it happened. In the final hours, the major galactic powers sent one last desperate appeal to Earth, the Valorian Collective. One of the galaxy's oldest civilizations led the effort. Their ambassador's message was broadcast widely. Humanity, you have proven your strength. You have shown the galaxy your power. But this final act, destroying a planet, this will define you forever. Is this how you want to be remembered? As destroyers of worlds? President Vasquez responded personally, her voice calm but carrying steel underneath. The Jathic destroyed 3,000 lives at New Providence. They planned to destroy 12 colonies, 30,000 more people. They broadcast torture and murder for entertainment. They mocked our dead and called us weak. And when we defended ourselves, the galaxy stayed silent. You chose not to help us. So now you'll watch while we help ourselves. She paused, letting her words sink in across 1 trillion viewers. But I want to be very clear about something. We gave them warning. We gave them time to evacuate. We will destroy their military and their homeworld, but we are working to minimize civilian deaths. The Jathic showed us no such mercy. Remember that. Remember who started this, and remember who chose restraint even in the midst of justified anger. With 1 hour remaining, Admiral Velkoth sent one final transmission. He stood on a nearly empty plaza on Thavrax, his forearms hanging limp at his sides. Behind him, the sky was filled with transport ships lifting off in endless streams. I am Supreme Leader Velkoth, he said, his voice broken. I ordered the attack on New Providence. I mocked human grief. I executed prisoners. I did these things because I believed humans were weak. I was wrong. About everything. He looked directly into the camera. To humanity I offer no excuses. What I did was monstrous. What happens here today is justice, not tragedy. I will remain here on Thavrax. I will not run. When the projectiles strike, I will die knowing that I brought this upon my people through my own arrogance and cruelty. The transmission ended. Velkoth did not appear again. The final evacuation statistics came in 30 minutes before impact. 7.7 billion Jathic had been evacuated. 6.3 billion remained on Thavrax, unable to find transport in time. Most were concentrated in remote regions where infrastructure had collapsed, or in underground shelters hoping somehow to survive. Admiral Webb reviewed the numbers in his ready room alone. 6,300,000,000. More than twice the population of Earth when humans first reached the stars. All about to die because he had given the order, he thought about calling it off. The projectiles couldn't be stopped, but maybe there was some way to divert them or slow them down. Maybe no, he had made his choice. The galaxy needed to see this. Needed to understand. Hesitation now would waste everything they had sacrificed to reach this moment. All stations, this is Admiral Webb. Stand by for impact. All ships maintain observation positions. Record everything. The galaxy needs to witness this. The projectiles arrived exactly on schedule, traveling at 95% the speed of light. They were invisible to the naked eye, moving too fast for organic vision to track. But sensors picked them up in the final seconds, and every ship, every station, every species in the galaxy watched what happened next. The first projectile hit Thavrax's northern hemisphere. At that velocity, it punched through the atmosphere in a fraction of a second, hitting the planet's crust with kinetic energy equivalent to 500 nuclear weapons. The impact crater was 200 kilometers across and 40 kilometers deep. Reaching into the planet's mantle. Then the other 99 projectiles arrived, all within a 3-second window. Striking across the entire planet, the kinetic energy was beyond anything natural in the universe, except perhaps a stellar collision. The planet's crust shattered. Massive seismic waves propagated through the mantle, meeting and reinforcing each other. Volcanic eruptions triggered across every tectonic plate simultaneously. The atmosphere, superheated by the impacts, began to burn with chemical fires that spread globally. From space, Thavrax looked like it was dying. Because it was. Captain Torres watched from the retribution, her face expressionless. Around her, her crew watched in silence. There were no cheers, no celebrations, just quiet witness to something terrible and necessary. Seismic readings are off the scale. the science officer reported quietly. The planet's tectonic structure is collapsing. Atmospheric composition is becoming toxic. Surface temperature rising rapidly. Conservative estimate: Thavrax will be completely uninhabitable within 6 hours. Nothing will survive. Torres nodded slowly. Continue recording. The galaxy needs to see all of it. On Thavrax, in the final moments, 6 billion Jathic died. Some instantly, vaporized by the impacts. Others in earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, atmospheric fires. The underground shelters became tombs as seismic activity collapsed them. It was fast as extinctions go, but not painless, and across the galaxy, 1 trillion beings watched it happen and understood one simple truth: humanity could be provoked to this. The species that seemed peaceful and reasonable could do this if you pushed them hard enough. When it was over, Admiral Webb broadcast one final message. His face filled every screen in the galaxy, and his words would be studied by historians for centuries. To every civilization watching this, understand what you have witnessed. The Jathic attacked a human colony without provocation. They killed 3,000 innocents, including children. They tortured and murdered prisoners on live broadcast. They mocked our grief and called us weak. Then they planned to attack 11 more colonies to cull human expansion. He paused, letting that sink in. We responded by destroying their military and their homeworld. We gave them warning. We allowed evacuations. We saved nearly 8 billion Jathic civilians when we could have killed them all. We showed mercy even while delivering justice. Remember that. His voice hardened, became something absolute and final. Humanity seeks peace. We will trade with you. We will share culture and knowledge. We will be your friends and allies. But understand this truth about us: we are not prey. We are not weak. We are not victims. Attack our innocence and we will end you. Not your government. Not your military, you, your homeworld, your civilization, everything. He leaned forward, and his eyes seemed to look through the camera into the soul of everyone watching. Choose peace, and we are your greatest allies. Choose war, and we are extinction. The choice has always been yours. It always will be. But now you know the consequences of your choices. Choose wisely. The transmission ended, and silence spread across the galaxy. In the days that followed, the consequences rippled outward. The Jathic Concordat formally dissolved as its surviving population scattered to colony worlds. Velkoth's body was eventually found in the ruins, right where he said he would be. He had chosen to die with his homeworld. The Galactic Council formally recognized human space as inviolate. Species that had been dismissive or hostile suddenly sought trade agreements and defense pacts. The galaxy reorganized itself around the new reality. Humanity was a power that could not be threatened. Admiral Webb retired 3 months later. He was 57 years old, but looked 20 years older. He had given the order that killed a world, and it had broken something inside him. Historians would call him the man who secured humanity's survival. He called himself a man who did what was necessary, and would spend the rest of his life wondering if there had been another way. President Vasquez served out her term and did not run for re-election. She spent her remaining years working with Jathic refugee communities, helping them rebuild their civilization. She never apologized for the decision to destroy Thavrax, but she worked tirelessly to ensure the survivors had futures. Captain Jennifer Torres returned to New Providence and helped establish a memorial. Every name of the 3,000 dead was carved in stone from Earth. At the center was a single inscription: "Remember why peace matters. Remember the cost of forcing war." She planted a tree from Earth beside her sister's name. It was a cherry tree, Rebecca's favorite. Every spring it bloomed with flowers that Rebecca would never see, and Jennifer would sit beneath it and remember. Dr. Yamamoto dismantled most of Earth's secret weapon systems. The factories were converted to civilian use. The warships were put in reserve. But enough remained, visible now, to remind the galaxy that humanity's capacity for destruction still existed. "We proved our point," he said in his final report. "Now we must prove our humanity."